Welcome to World Stories, your international reporters magazine. I'm Sumi Somaskanda. And this week, we'll explore the tradition of the Sheshia cap in Tunisia. We'll harness the Earth's heat in El Salvador, and we go fishing in Istanbul. All that and more coming up. But first, India's been described as a land of paradoxes, a place of extreme wealth and abject poverty, of Eastern tradition and Western ambitions. But over the past decade, India has proven its strength as an emerging economic power. And Mumbai, its biggest city, is at the heart of that growth. There, a wave of young entrepreneurs are helping to reshape the image of India abroad. And that's where Malini Agarwal comes in. She's one of Mumbai's favorite socialites, and she's turned her knack for all things Bollywood and fashion into a successful career. Emerging Stars TV reporter Bipin Chandra Chagul sits down with Malini and shares this story.
The city of Mumbai is regarded as the commercial center of India. It's also the hometown of the world-famous Bollywood film industry. Malini Agarwal has been called the Paris Hilton of India. A few years ago, the former radio DJ decided to take her interest in entertainment one step further. Her blog, called Miss Malini, explores the glamorous worlds of fashion, showbiz, celebrities, and more. It started small, but has since become an internet sensation.
So my business is actually a really fun online blog which focuses on fashion, Bollywood and nightlife, Bollywood being the biggest thing that everybody's into in India. It's sort of like an online magazine, so it's very real-time, it's virtual, so it's taking everything that newspapers did in terms of gossip or magazines do in terms of fashion and turning it over much faster with a lot more multimedia, video, tweets, social media, and giving people real-time information on everything that's happening with their favorite celebrities and what's happening in fashion.
I'm a big fan.
First, I started just as a hobby, like I said, just for fun. And then very quickly, I realized that people were very interested in what we were doing. And we suddenly got a lot of feedback. And a lot of brands started contacting me saying, hey, can you write about my product? Can you come cover my event? And so we realized that, hang on, I've done zero investment. I'm already getting incoming revenue. Maybe we're onto something here. And then my husband, who went to Harvard, put his brains to it. We decided let's do this, and we got one round of sort of seed funding, initial funding. I'm not sure what it's called, but and angel funding, and we took off.
When she started doing this hobby blog, and she started getting interest, from investors, it was a natural point for me to get involved to help her out. And then as we explored it further and further and we saw the potential, when we looked into how big blogging is as an industry in the US, for example, and then you think about where India is going to be from an internet market standpoint, and the fact that the blogging industry here doesn't really exist, at least not in the entertainment space, it was just, I realized that the idea that I was looking for, the business that I was looking for kind of walked into my life, and it was a very exciting idea. So once we had that support from investors, that's when I knew it was time to take a chance.
Hi, this is Shubhika and I'm back on MissMalini.com. Hi, watching Miss Malini.
Nowadays, Miss Malini cooperates with both large companies and small local entrepreneurs, like this Mumbai-based fashion designer.
From the beginning of my brand, I wanted to do a really great launch for my brand, and the only person I could think of was Miss Malini to do that. And I think with her help, we did this brilliant launch. We did 3 fashion flash mobs in the best clubs in Bombay, and it was such a success. And after that, I think it's just been an ongoing, relation that we've been in.
So it works well for both of us, and what we like to do is, as Miss Malini, I want to align with brands that are cool and funky and represent the Miss Malini culture. And so Shubhika's brand, Papa Don't Preach, is exactly that. It is sort of bold and beautiful and edgy, so it just goes so well with my brand. So great for both of us. So I get the revenue, she gets the promotion, it's an ongoing relationship, and so the Miss Malini brand becomes a mascot for Papa Don't Preach, and it works.
And we love dressing her. So anything that that Malini wears is just an instant hit anyway with the readers, so it works really well for us.
What started as a hobby has turned into a serious business. There are 10 permanent members of staff in the office, either blogging or working on the sales side. But Malini Agarwal remains the driving force behind the company's success. Her colleagues say her energy and dedication are boundless.
The energy that she brings is really infectious. And the number one question I get asked by people about Malini is where she gets her energy from. And I have no idea. It's partially from Red Bull, I suppose, but there's got to be more to it than that because she just works harder than anyone I know. And most people, I think, suspect that the blog is not that much work. You just put up the stories. People don't understand that Malini is blogging from the minute she wakes up. She's covering events, she's getting her hair and makeup, she's meeting, interviewing celebrities. And then after that, when she gets home at 1, 2, 3 o'clock in the morning, then she continues blogging to make sure that everything's up in a timely fashion. So the amount and intensity that she works with is what drives the business.
Hi, you're watching MissMalini.com. I'm so excited. We're going to do our first and only rehearsal for the show. It's almost showtime, and we're going to walk on this square stage.
Malini has big dreams for the blog. She thinks it could even change how the outside world sees India.
I think the dream is to really put India on the map in a way that's not Slumdog Millionaire, that's not Discovery Channel in the villages of India, to put modern India on the map and be a representative of the new age, the new wave. I like to call myself a social media Jedi, and I like the idea of that coming out of, this culture as opposed to everything coming from the West.
Her vision, confidence, and passion have certainly put her blog on the map. And she herself has become a regular fixture on the glamorous Bollywood celebrity circuit.
Well, from forward fashion to a traditional garment that's falling out of favor in Tunisia. The shashia is a round brimless cap, usually in black or red, that dates back hundreds of years. Now, making shashias is a special craft that was once highly valued as part of Tunisia's cultural heritage. But nowadays, the symbolic hat has lost its luster and its importance in society. Tunisia News Network reporter Sohair El-Shabani brings us this story.
Not far from the presidential palace in the Kasbah district of Tunis, Abdul Razak Kakia is laying out his wares. The 70-year-old is also manager of the old Shashia market, which was once a thriving hub for the making and sale of traditional Tunisian headwear.
In 1942 and 3, there were 480 shashia makers at the market here in Tunis. Now there are only 20. Back in the day, the market spilled over into 4 venues. But with a number of people practicing the craft these days, we'd be lucky to open half a market.
This is the face of the shashia market today. Now that so many craftsmen have left to pursue other, more lucrative lines of work in the restaurant and tourist trades. Hafez Blesh sits in his painted wooden shop, putting the finishing touches to his shashias. He's one of just a handful of people who have not turned their backs on what was once an esteemed profession.
I'm a shashia maker. I learned the craft from my father, who in turn learned it from his father. Even as a very young child, I accompanied my father, who has since passed away. I really enjoy the craft.
The shashia makers who are still active lament the fact that so many Tunisians have either turned their backs on the traditional garment or prefer to wear the factory-made variety.
Almost no one comes to buy new shashias these days. Demand is nothing like it used to be. We no longer have the same materials that were originally used. And young people are not interested in going into the profession. As far as they're concerned, it's too demanding and requires too much patience.
Fewer people wear a shashia these days. Our season is 3 months long and runs from December to February. When it's hot, you can't wear a shashia anyway. Even I have to stop wearing mine in March. Generally speaking, I'd say they've become less important.
Abdul Razak Kahia believes the government could do more to support his profession. Although it has pledged its help, so far no concrete action has been taken.
For years, we've been asking the government to help save our profession from extinction. We've received repeated promises, but nothing's been done. Every other profession has received help, just not ours. And we don't know why.
Although some Tunisians still believe in the symbolic importance of the headpiece, many younger people in particular feel life has moved beyond it.
Many young people only wear a shashia on special occasions. Older people wear them more often.
We don't wear shashias anymore. They're not widely worn in today's Tunisian society.
The shashia won't die out. It's a special Tunisian craft, just like the craft of leatherworking or shoemaking. Shashia making is part of our cultural heritage.
But there is life for the shashia beyond Tunisia. Important export countries are Libya, Nigeria and Niger, and there's hope it will beat off the competition of modern headwear flooding the market.
The shashia is a unique Tunisian headpiece that has existed for a very long time and is complicated to make. It will survive despite the current difficulties, and perhaps there will be people interested in helping to keep it alive.
The shashia dates back to the 14th century. Its typical deep red is symbolic of the many social and political revolutions the country has experienced, some of them not so long ago.
Food security means physical and economic access to the most basic food needed to survive. It's amazing then to think that almost 1 in 8 people in the world struggled with chronic hunger over the past 2 years. It's a pervasive problem in the developing world especially, where rising food prices and climate change have had a dramatic effect on farming and basic nutrition. Namibia is prone to droughts, but it's now in the grips of the worst dry spell in decades. As UNTV's Suzanne Bukes shows us, aid workers are doing their best to relieve the suffering, but they face an uphill battle.
This dry and dusty sand is all that remains of Karyamakuju Kauta's maize and vegetable field.
We are hungry. That is the impact of the drought. That is what we can see. People are hungry. People are dying.
She now has just 1 week's supply of maize remaining. After that, she's not sure how she will find food to feed her family. Karyamakuju's dire situation is the result of the worst drought Namibia has experienced in 30 years. An estimated 780,000 Namibians, or a third of the population, are now severely or moderately food insecure. In May, the government declared an emergency, committing around $20 million to provide food and water to affected people. Aid agencies have also stepped in to help. UNICEF Namibia representative Michaela Marques de Souza.
29% of children in this country are stunted, and stunting is irreversible. It means 29% of these children do not do well in schools. It means 29% of these children actually fall out of the system. So children and women are bearing the brunt of the drought.
In response, UNICEF is scaling up water, sanitation, and hygiene facilities, as well as nutrition education and infant feeding activities. Miozin Yunt is Chief of Health and Nutrition, UNICEF Namibia.
Namibia has been experiencing the cyclical challenges of drought and floods. So the government as well as the international community should really work hands in hands to really prevent the further deterioration of the climate change problem, resulting in natural disasters.
Mbete Chichpoza, an elder in the Ovahimba community, has seen her fair share of droughts. But 2 consecutive years of no rain in her village in Kunene region is taking its toll.
From previous years, we never suffered from drought because we used to drink milk and eat whatever we wanted to. Now the drought is really affecting us.
Mbete boils a watery maize porridge, her only meal for the day. The government food rations have not yet arrived, and she must support several families on her meager resources. As in years before, the community is willing to wait out the drought. But it remains to be seen if they will have the strength to do so, if help doesn't come soon.
El Salvador may be the smallest country in Central America, but it sure makes up for its size in its sheer number of volcanoes. There are 22 to be exact. Now, deep below the earth, those volcanoes carry incredible potential in the form of geothermal energy. Now, engineers have started to harness that heat to provide environmentally friendly energy and slash the country's CO2 emissions. That's become especially important in El Salvador as climate change has started to take its toll. Reporter Manuel Ucerquez visited the south of the country after devastating torrential rain struck 2 years ago, and he shows us how that spurred an effort to go green. Take a look.
A few books are all that remains of the school in Comasagua, a town near the capital of El Salvador. A few days before this was filmed, a torrential rainfall triggered a landslide that destroyed the building. It's the only school in the area, and it's now in ruins. Many homes across El Salvador have been destroyed by mudslides. More than 100 people died during the last rainy season.
I'm afraid it will keep getting worse. We probably can't stay here. We'll have to move. If it starts raining again, we'll have to leave right away.
People here believe they're feeling the impact of climate change. The government hopes clean geothermal energy will help counter its effects. Here in the municipality of Berlin is one of the 2 main plants producing geothermal energy. Power generated from underground volcanic steam now covers a quarter of El Salvador's electricity needs. Rainer Schröer from the German Association for International Cooperation is helping to make even more efficient use of this energy. He meets with Oscar Salvador Valle, the manager of the Lajeo geothermal plant. One of the plant's wells is 2,600 meters deep, and the other goes down 1,100 meters. The plant generates a large part of the country's energy. But it could produce even more. Steam escaping from the plant's turbines is now being wasted. The engineer is looking for ways to capture it. Drilling new wells would also increase capacity. But drilling is very capital intensive. Schröer is helping Lajeo find a company that can drill more cheaply.
We have these 2 plants now, but we're planning more. Right now, we're checking out 2 additional drilling fields. Then we'd have 4 fields in all. We want to increase our market share. Now we're covering a quarter of the market, but we want to expand. The resources are available, so we'll definitely build more. So now we're examining 2 additional fields.
Volcanic hot springs are common in seismically active El Salvador. In some villages, families even wash their clothes in the hot water. Even though the water smells of sulfur, it's very useful.
Washing is much faster, and because the water is so hot, we don't have to use much soap.
Just a short distance away, the hot springs are even more impressive. Here at the foot of the Tecapa volcano, hot water is bubbling to the surface. Geothermal power could potentially supply all of the country's energy needs, sustainably, with no increase in CO2 emissions. There are 22 active volcanoes in El Salvador. But only a small fraction of that volcanic energy is currently being harnessed. A few businesses in El Salvador are beginning to benefit from geothermal energy. This nursery is planning to move some of its greenhouses near a geothermal plant. That will allow them to use the cheaper electricity. They held talks with the plant's operator.
Hi Rhino, how's it? Good, how's yourself?
We have to negotiate with them. They offered a very special price for us. It's green electricity. It's from the geothermal plant, so we don't have to worry about any
CO2 emissions.
It's green energy for electricity and also the heat energy for your plants.
Our electricity bill is about $40,000 per month. This electricity is mainly used for ventilators, for pumps, for cooling systems. And in heating we spend about $400,000 on oil per year. We will definitely save money, but it's also important for us to produce in a cleaner and a more sustainable way. It's not only about money.
They also hope to be a role model for other companies in the region. Hot springs are abundant in Central America, and that means there's an abundance of green energy, just waiting for someone to tap into it.
And finally, if you've ever visited Istanbul, it's a sight you've likely seen. Crowds of tourists and locals alike gathered under the famous Galata Bridge to taste the city's favorite delicacy, freshly cooked fish. It's a tradition that survived the ages and became a part of Istanbul's lore. Bulgaria's Nova TV reporter Danal Glishev shows us more.
It's a city on two continents, split down the middle by the Bosphorus Strait and flanked by the Black Sea and the Sea of Marmara. Its waterside location makes Istanbul a fish lover's paradise.
Turkish barbun.
There's a lot of fish around the city's iconic Galata Bridge and in the restaurants on its lower level. Our guide is Ceyhun, a man who knows fish well.
We take the fish from the fish market. There is in Yeni Kapı. All the morning is around 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock. All the fish coming from the Bosphorus and the Marmara Sea and off to the other sea. For example, south of Turkey in Mediterranean.
But what people here really love is extremely fresh fish cooked in the traditional Istanbul way.
Also, there was a traditional fish and bread. This is very famous on the Eminönü because this is like a traditional style. When the people have free times, they take the children and the friends or girlfriends or wives. They are coming to Eminönü, they take a fish and bread.
This fish caught minutes ago in the Golden Horn has ended up in a tasty sandwich with onions and traditional Turkish bread. Shrimps are also netted under the bridge. These chefs are peeling them in preparation for cooking and serving, though not all of them make it that far. And how does Ceyhun feel about the dozens of fishermen who line the bridge at the mouth of the Bosphorus?
Usually it's good. It's a nice view. When a lot of fishermen fishing here, it's a nice view, but a little bit dangerous.
With its air pollution, industry, and population of almost 14 million people, Istanbul is a modern city. But it's also a place where tradition endures, and where fresh fish is an inextricable part of life.
Well, that's all for this edition of World Stories. We'll leave you now with this week's Picks of the World. See you next time.